All right, let's see. It was showing live right now, and then it's showing disconnected. That's interesting. If I refresh, what does it say? Still disconnected. Okay.
Still showing offline. It should not be.
Production value.
Pretty cute. Except whoever's doing the camera keeps autofocusing it, and it's like, stop.
I think it's good. I got a tweet notification, so I think it's up and running. And okay, yes, it is. It's up. All right. Very good.
What's up and running? The stream?
Yes.
Itself? Did it fix itself?
I think we're good.
All right.
Yeah.
We are through, hopefully, what is going to be the only technical difficulties we have today, ladies and gentlemen, as I continue to refresh to try and see if Tuesday is in a game, which he is not yet. But we are working on it. We are casting WC Silver and CLG Black for the NA Open Qualifier Day 2. I am your play-by-play caster, PinkRambo, and with me is the ever-lovely Baguette, who is my color caster.
You flatter me. Good evening.
So while we are waiting, I'm just going to turn on some music that everybody's going to recognize. Well, should recognize. The game will be starting as soon as they get into the game. They're currently doing pick and ban, and because they are doing the 10-ban system, but are not on the tournament realm,
yeah, currently there's a third-party website where the pick and ban is being held, and so the teams are currently doing the picks and bans. They're going to get into the game, and then because there's a spectating delay of 3 minutes, we're going to have to wait a little more. And that's where we're going to pick up the game.
Yeah, and we'll be able to at least see what they've picked while we wait for the 3-minute timer to go down, so we can discuss team comps at that point. But until we get to that point, we have a little bit of background on the two teams.
Yeah, we have quite a little bit to talk about.
So why don't you start us off, and I will attempt to facilitate with my very limited knowledge of CLG's challenger team.
Yes, so I wanted to talk about first Wildcard Silver that played yesterday against Dawn Esports in a BO3 series. They won in a fairly convincing manner, 2-0. They had, so this team consists of Korean American players and some Korean players. Meru, Joyul, Yeonbi, Jonghoon, and Strike. And so those players all seem to have pretty strong individualities. We have Meru in the top lane, who's been yesterday playing Chen and Renekton. Also, potentially a Rumble player that we might see today. Joyul, who got role swapped quite a few times already. So more of a passive jungler. Yesterday we saw him going for some over-aggression, some dub-full pull-up positioning around the map, and the rest of the team is more on par with what we would expect from a challenger team. Yeonbi in the mid lane with a pretty deep champion pool. Played Syndra and Talon yesterday. Potentially a LeBlanc player, Syndra player, is someone who used to be a Ryze main, highly touted mid, and that's still trying to define his identity. So that's something that we'll have to keep in mind while watching those games today. And a bot lane who played Zyra twice yesterday. So we probably won't see anything out of the blue from those two guys in the ball lane. So a team that together doesn't have the strongest team fighting ability, doesn't have the best rotations. They tend to play pretty passively in the mid game, especially. But they have strong lanes. They have strong lanes. Yesterday it was against Diamond 3, Diamond 2 players with a pretty good macro actually. So we'll see how they do in the lane phase in the early game, how Joyul is able to pressure his laners. But against a team like CLG Black, it's not a given. And maybe if you want to talk about CLG Black next.
So sure. So with CLG Black, we have they're all challenger players to start off with. So by that token alone, they should be able to work cohesively as a unit, regardless of, regardless of what they're up against. Speaking of which, just kind of ghosting on Zix's stream, they did get Varus Zyra, which I'm assuming is against CLG Black, but as I am still waiting for, haha, they are in game.
Yeah, I see it too.
They are in game, so I'm
Okay.
going to pull that up, and then we will be able to get right into this as soon as it loads. I'm sorry, guys. This is actually a little bit slower than I thought it was going to be.
It is.
But we are working on it. This NA.OPGG is great. Just a little bit slow. So CLG Black will and has shown to be a good team fighting unit. So even if they may not come out very strong in lanes, which I also highly doubt, because unfortunately the bot lane for WC Silver isn't the strongest. They had a lot of pressure in yesterday's game, but they're not the strongest on their own. So I will be very interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I expected in terms of picks and ban. We talked about a Rumble for Meru. He's been playing it a lot in solo queue lately. In his recent history in solo queue, he's been picking up the champion a lot. We see Joyul, same, plays a lot of Lee Sin, has good mechanics. Being a former ADC main, Yeonbi playing the LeBlanc is pretty proficient on assassins, and the Varus Zyra for the bot lane once again. And so here's what's interesting is that we see Fallen Benning on the tank. So Nautilus Rumble matchup is going to be fairly neutral, at least in the early game. So not as exciting as it could have been. So I think it should be more interesting to see what happens regarding the junglers, because Omar God is a player that's more proactive in the way he's going to be warding for his team with the pressure of his laners. And I feel like he has a better pathing than Joyul, who I'm kind of curious to see what he wants to do with this Lee Sin. What's going to be his pathing, where he's going to ward in the early game, what kind of lane he's going to prioritize. So a lot of questions that need to be answered still.
Okay, so the bot lane matchup is gonna be sustain versus aggression. In so much as Nami sustain going to be able to out heal the aggression from Zyra and Varus? Mid lane is going to be a case of, can I farm enough to avoid the LeBlanc? Which, interesting to note, both mid laners play a lot of LeBlanc. It was a contested pick, and it went over to, it did go over to WC Silver, as opposed to CLG Black.
And as we see, they both junglers started Raptors straight to their red buff. Joyul being helped by his top laner, and yeah, we started to see some aggression ball lane, because the level 1 is very important in the ball lane, getting control of the ranged minions, so you can set up the pace, you can manipulate the wave, so that you can actually harass the enemy laners without taking so much poke yourself.
This is actually some really good wave management out of Zaganox, the AD carry for CLG Black. They hit their level 2 power spike before Varus and Zyra did. That was some really good wave management. They know where Lee Sin is with a really well-placed Hawkshot. I don't know if... I mean, personally, I wouldn't have gone for Hawkshot over... over
most,
Q.
Most Ashe players, they tend to have this kind of build in competitive play, so that you instantly get the vision on the enemy jungler, which is what he did. So you can have an idea of the pathing, so that your own jungler can get is safe while doing his usual jungler routes, and you can go ward towards the other side of the map as well to get information on what camps are available there. Can I take some gold? Can I take some strike speed from there? And now we see some skirmishes.
So Omar decided he was going to invade, and I won't say he invaded by himself, but it was definitely a risky play as WC Silver picks up first blood with a well-placed Lee Sin Q. So that was aggression gone wrong. He decided that he was going to invade, and Gragas is strong, but not without some substantial items, where Lee Sin is just really good without items because of the way his kit works.
Well, you do have some kind of skirmishing potential with the Gragas. You have the damage reduction from your W. You do have a CC, stun, slow. But, I mean, yeah, it's a Lee Sin. So Lee Sin level that also picked up his level 4. He has red buff. It's difficult. It's difficult to play around. And especially you're playing around a LeBlanc with a lot of early game damage. It's very tough to deal with that early in the game.
Yeah. So Varus did the typical longsword 3 pots start. The mid laner Tuesday was playing with fire. He was much lower on mana a little while ago. With Orianna, you never want to be without enough mana to shield, especially against LeBlanc.
I mean, this kind of matchup, she's not... LeBlanc is not that much of a threat just yet, because she received a couple of nerfs, especially on her W, and there's this distortion. She's carrying TP, Orianna's heal, that she used earlier in this skirmish. So she's fairly fine. I mean, she's ahead in terms of CS. So for Knights, she's in a good situation. But coming to the level 6, with the power spike from the Lee Sin and LeBlanc, she really has to be extremely careful with that.
This is actually, I want to say it's difficult to do, CSing under tower as Nautilus, and Bandit is doing a very good job at it.
Well, the way, you do have some options, for Nautilus in terms of CSing. First, with your passive, you actually get some extra chunk of damage on the minions with that physical damage, so it's easier to last hit. You also get the auto attack reset when you proc your shield. So yes, it's hard, but at the same time, you have some options to play around it. Now, the real problem is, I mean, you're playing against a Rumble. He can essentially always be in his danger zone. And when he overhits, you need to get away. Otherwise, it's a huge amount of damage, even without penetration items, because Rumble has a very high base damage.
Okay, so there's a lot of vision from WC Silver's jungler against CLG Black. We see quite a bit in the topside jungle for blue team, as well as the entranceway for CLG Black's red side jungle.
Yes, I mean, as you can see, there's a lot of pings on the Lee Sin. CLG Black pinging essentially the mid laner, that there's a threat surrounding the mid lane with the Lee Sin. WC Silver has the complete control right now in terms of vision of the top side, and that's why we see Gragas more on the bot side, because right now if there was a skirmish, he's not level 6, so they wouldn't win, for instance, in the mid game fight. So that's something to deal with. The ball lane is pretty fine. I mean, Zaganox does have a CS lead for now, but there shouldn't be a threat. There shouldn't be a killing threat just yet, at least not until the level 6. Or if there's a jungler presence.
Even at level 6, I don't think that Varus Zyra is going to pose as much of a kill threat to Ashe Nami. You've got 2 stuns, if it lands, from Ashe Nami that are, in my opinion, better than the 2 stuns that you get from Varus Zyra.
And so, well, yeah. The main thing regarding what you could do in the bot lane in that situation against this Ashe Nami that's very safe, has a lot of CC, a lot of sustain. You want to deep ward in the bot side of CLG's Black jungle, and that's Joyul's job. So what Omar God did was he clears his jungle, he gets the information, he knows where Listen is, so he can prevent this kind of TP play happening with Meru, with the Rumble. So for now, it's much more of a counter jungling job that he's been doing with the help of Rumble and LeBlanc. But other than that, for now, we probably won't be seeing fights until we see some action in the bot lane, at least.
So with Lee Sin actually showing in the blue side top jungle, they're rotating over for his blue to give to Orianna. Basically seems to be if Joyul is going to live in Omar's jungle, Omar is going to live in his jungle. Which, now given the items, I actually think that matchup would go in the favor of Omar.
Well, I mean, it really depends on how well you can, because Gragas, it's not necessarily telegraphed, but a lot of his, his damage comes from getting the right combo with the ult and having the synergy with the Orianna. If we're talking about the 2v2, so it really depends. It's really like a matter of who outplays the other, especially in the Lee Sin Gragas matchup.
Yeah.
And
so,
now we see. Oh,
Phil's in a really tough spot as Jungyu flashes forward, as does Zyra. The ult's gonna come out from Omar, which was a little bit of a waste, but they did get the TP from Meru.
Well, I mean, Meru did get the kill here, so...
Yes, but he has to walk back to lane. Bandit has shoved that into tower now. I say as he finishes backing.
Yeah, well, so what happens here is that he gets essentially just 5 or 6 minions denied to him. He picks up a kill, can walk back to Nate pretty safely. Now they have control over the dragon. And I mean, we saw Omar doing the same mistake again of going into the enemy jungle without having complete vision, complete control over where the enemy team is, and he just gets punished for it again because he doesn't have all of his teammates backing him up. So, a bit questionable again here.
The Orianna LeBlanc is a skill matchup, and it's a difficult skill matchup because LeBlanc gets so much free damage from the way her kit works now, that it's actually really annoying.
I mean, it is.
How much burst damage she's got.
She's really oppressive, and so what you see is here the fact that Jungkook is able to clear is very good, because since now CLG Black knows that Rumble doesn't have access to his TP, they put a deep ward between the 2 bot turrets of WC Silver, so that Nautilus can possibly TP there and create that dive on 2 people, but that still gets them the turret. So pretty good proactive play coming from CLG Black.
That's actually first turret down, and that went to CLG Black. Where First Blood went to WC Silver, the gold is still relatively even. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 200 gold isn't
yeah,
really...
I mean, that's pretty much what we talked about also with WC Silver with their games yesterday. It really relies on the laning prowess as well. In some of those matchups, we know that the Rumble is going to be able to push in. The enemy laner is going to get that CS advantage, whereas here, I mean, it's just the bot lane. Zaganog's completely outplaying in terms of just CS and getting this pressure bot lane. 40 CS is a huge lead.
And so the other part of that is that they just actually also secured First Dragon, which is a mountain dragon, which is going to allow them to push towers faster, which is good when you have Orianna and Ashe. That's a great pickup for those two.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a pretty good sieging comp. You know, you have a very good front line. You have the Dragons, the Nautilus. You have the disengage potential with the Orianna, with the Ashe, with the Nami, all of that CC. So all in all, with the Ashe, you're able to make proactive plays, and that's why they're heading towards the top side. They're going to be able to take that top turret fairly quick. I'm kind of curious that as of why he went for the Blade of the Rune King first, if he wants to push the turrets fast, which is where you would like to have the Berserker boots first. But maybe that's because he wants to keep the choice between maybe the Tabbies, because there's Lee Sin and the Varus, or even better, the Mercuries, because you're against a heavy AP. And now we see more and more ADCs itemizing differently in terms of boots.
Oh, for sure. And with the way that it's so difficult to play except a very small range of AD carries, again, there's not much they can do as we get the arrow landing in onto Jonghoon, followed up by the shockwave from Orianna, and that is an easy kill, and that is the danger of Ashe. And I love that champion so much.
I mean, that's pretty interesting here. So at first, they decided to commit their ball lane to the top side of the map. Then they realized, well, we have our cooldowns up. Oh, fight happening.
So we got another fight happening. We got Nami's gonna get hooked up by the Stranglethorns. The ult's gonna come out from Nautilus as he picks up the kill onto Lee Sin, and they may dive this with Gragas now here. Gragas does have his ult. However, it is the only ult that they would have available to them, and he's not quite healthy enough on mana, I think, for the team to feel comfortable. And they're really... CLG Black is playing this rather effectively, in so much as they could have stayed and tried to keep pushing the turret, but it's better for them if they just back off and not necessarily allow it to reset, but to give themselves a chance to spend that gold that they just got. I mean, they picked up a kill onto Lee Sin, and they picked up a kill onto Varus.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, and especially when you consider that Omar got killed twice in poor invades, the fact that they were able to get this first turret, the fact that they were able to get this dragon, make this proactive play into the Varus, is very interesting. You know, it's very good that they have this kind of reaction, that proper rotations, first committing the Ashe to top lane and then committing her to the mid lane instead for that play. And then you just, well, Double C Silver has the good reaction. You know, they have the Rumble coming in with the Equalizer, but they had a control over the map, they had a control over the vision, and they didn't do anything about it. They just let the plays happen reactively.
So we've got LeBlanc coming into bot lane where Bandit is trying to defend this tower. LeBlanc actually cancels her teleport as they take top turret as well. I'm not sure. I mean, it feels like a waste of teleport. Not that I ever really see LeBlanc with teleport to begin with, but to have just a waste teleport to try and stop Nautilus from protecting the tower doesn't really seem worth when you're gonna lose top tower anyway.
The problem here is that I think they weren't confident enough in their ability to dive the Nautilus, or at least commit 3 people to it, and at the same time be able to defend the top turret.
We got the Ashe Arrow landing along with the Nami Bubble and Command Dissonance, as LeBlanc jumps in and doesn't get too much damage on to Tuesday, which is surprising considering the fact that Tuesday doesn't actually have any additional MR, where LeBlanc is sitting on the Megatron Cloak. I'm assuming that is going to get turned into a Abyssal Scepter eventually. But yes, Tuesday's ahead by 40 CS. Zaganox is up by 30 CS on their respective lane opponents.
I mean, that's what we know. That's what we highlighted. The fact that, and it's really true in the ball lane, when you get this kind of control, level 1, level 2, then you really get to set the pace of the lane. You get to get a few extra minions left and right, deny some of your opponents. Same with the mid lane. I mean, you have to control over the map. You have those turrets down. It's easier to set up waves around the map with proper vision to go catch for your laners. And for me, what's really striking is that, I mean, in terms of gold, it's not even there's not even that big of a difference. Like it's just a 1.4k gold lead, and at the same time, it seems that CLG Black is in complete control over this game. They're making all of the proactive plays. They're making those cross map plays with the Ash Arrow. The Orianna's control over the mid lane. I mean, it seems like they're just so dominant right now, and WC Silver is not doing anything about it.
So Orianna has dissonance up. Ash just got sorry, Zaganox just got Crystal Arrow back up. So I'm fully expecting to see another arrow into something play. However, that was a Gragas Cask into Ash Arrow to stun lock LeBlanc to prevent her from taking out the squishies on the team, which was actually a really, really good call. Feels bad, man, that you didn't get to dodge out considering how mobile LeBlanc actually is.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we saw. That's kind of what we saw on his talent yesterday for Yunbi. Sometimes he does those questionable plays, he goes for the greedy play, he wants to get the kill, and he just commits too much to it, and that's what happened right there. And then, I mean, you can't react, you can't commit too much of your resources to defend the LeBlanc, because then that means Dragon that can mean turrets, and afterwards he can snowball the game out of control.
So, Varus threw out his ult and hit nobody, which is unfortunate. That would have been a really great start to a counter fight from WC Silver. But we, and even top lane, where Rumble was pretty dominant the entire time, Rumble's only up 30 CS, and I was only ahead by 1 kill.
I mean, in your upper head, a Nautilus, that's a tank that lets his other laners get the farm instead of
We have the shockwave coming out, followed up by a hook from Nautilus to take out Lee Sin. That was without Crystal Arrow. That was a really well-placed ball from Orianna, and that just allowed him to take advantage of Lee Sin's poor positioning. Lee Sin should never be up that far unless he is fully intending to 100-0 somebody.
It's crazy how much of a redux it is of yesterday's series. They're just getting out-rotated, they're making greedy plays, committing where they shouldn't, overextending, especially Joyul on his Lee Sin here again. I mean, it's just like, honestly, it's just poor display. And the only one doing real work here is Meru and his Rumble. He's had pretty good equalizers, but at the same time, you know, it's more of a team fighting pick here, and there's not much that he can do right now.
So, WC Silver actually has a half-decent reactionary team comp, in so much as if CLG Black tried to engage the Zyra Strangle Thorns, as well as the Snare from her E, in combination with the Varus ult and the Rumble ult, actually lends really good to a reactionary engage comp from WC Silver. And if they can execute it, those team fights are going to start going in their favor, hands down. If they can execute it. That's the...
Exactly, because here the problem is that with this kind of team comp, you're playing for picks. You have a LeBlanc, you have a Lee Sin, you have the Zyra. So you need to find windows where you can pick 1 or 2 people off, where there's not a lot of vision. For instance, on the top side of the map for them right now, which is where CLG Black is heading, so they can get vision around the Baron to start pressuring around it. But I mean, for now, there's not a lot of those windows for WC Silver to work with.
All right. Here's the main question. Is Zaganox going for Runaan's or is Zaganox going for Phantom Dancer?
So here generally, just to apply the Frost Shot stacks, you're going for Runaan's, which is pretty much a staple item on Ashe. Afterwards, depending on the team comp, we see a lot of Black Cleaver built by Korean Ashe players especially, which is pretty good against tanks. Against this kind of team composition, we might see, for instance, an X Drinker or a QSS, especially QSS because there's a Zara engage, there's a LeBlanc snare. You can also QSS the Lee Sin ult to be able to flash it mid animation.
Oh, the hook coming out from Bandit to land onto Zyra, and he is actually just gonna walk away without really taking any damage. Something that is actually really interesting, and I'm actually really enjoying watching happen, is watching Bandit take damage for his team and not take any damage at all.
Yeah, I mean, he right now he's having a great game.
He's doing what he needs one completed item.
Right? I mean, that's not a list for you, right? It's just like you have so much base tankiness that you can just walk up to people. And yeah, that's it. You just slap people in the face, right through their faces. You keep on CCing them on and on again, and they're not doing anything back because they just can't.
So, the other thing to note, CLG Black has taken out every outer and inner turret except for bot lane inner. As Phil gets caught out, the arrow's gonna hit nobody as Shockwave Dissonance actually picks up Zyra. Tuesday's gonna get thrown into the rest of the team by the Lee Sin as Ashe picks off Lee Sin and is gonna follow up by trying to take out Rumble as we see Nautilus taking out the Zyra, or sorry, Omar taking out the Zyra as he flashes forward. Not quite getting the barrel out, so something that I've noticed, really watching a Gragas one trick, Omar should have led with barrel before flash body slamming, because then he could have activated barrel and she would have had absolutely no chance to flash away from him.
That's true, yeah.
So that was an unfortunate combo error, but for that team fight, they get inhibitor tower and inhibitor. That is phenomenal.
Everything.
They took everything from them.
They just get everything. It's like all you can eat buffet right now from WC Silver. It's like, all right, here's all you can take. Just take it. We don't care anyways. I mean, you see those fights. It's disorganized. It seems like there's not a proper communication around what kind of cooldowns they have available, what kind of spells they have at hand. And it looks messy in general. And you see Meru with those great equalizers, all things considered, and he cannot do anything.
I don't know if that's all Meru's fault, and that it might just be that the team is... Oh, we get the arrow landing out, but is immediately QSS'd by Jonghoon, which was actually really great reaction. It's as that arrow landed, he QSS'd, so he didn't really stop moving. That is amazing.
I mean, pretty great mechanics. I mean, on both sides of this game, we have players that are great individually, and that's where we see the limitations of LC Silver. You are up against players that are extremely good in lane as well. You are not able to get a lead. You're not making those proactive plays. You're just reacting, and so you get punished. You get punished by teams that play the macro game better than you do, have proper warding over both sides of your jungle, have peak potential with the Ashe Arrow, with the Gragas to Nautilus, and I mean, and there's no reaction whatsoever right now, so.
So this was something I actually mentioned yesterday, and it's that CLG Black will win in lanes alone. They will win this game solely based on their laning, which is almost exactly what's happening.
And I mean, ironically, that's the same playstyle as WC Silver. Yesterday was the same thing for WC Silver. It's like we exert pressure over solo lanes specifically, and from there we can control the jungle. And from there we can win team fights out of sheer skill. But here you're up against a team that has the same playstyle but does it better than you do. So what do you do then? How do you answer to that? And for now, there's no answer.
The CLG Black has adapted well to the playstyle of the main CLG team in so much as playing to their strength. And Tuesday is showing up really well.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not like he's 15-0-7, you know, but he's showing up really well. I mean, he's got 100% kill participation. As we get the arrow coming in along with the shockwave, and we see Lee Sin and Zyra falling over to that lovely bait as they try to get vision onto Baron. We might see a steal from Varus, maybe? No, Omar God has been taking lessons from the Godic Smithy himself. I said I wasn't going to be biased. I'm so sorry. I'm a little bit biased. as as Zaganox displays his superiority on Ash over Junghoon's Varus. To be fair, he is also 2 levels ahead of him, but still. As we get a snare coming out from Zyra, but Rumble is just going to get CC locked and thrown around like a small little tennis ball. As we get another CC lock onto LeBlanc, not enough to kill her with the damage not being quite there. Phil is running very low on mana, but the dissonance coming in from Orianna to find the kill for Nami, and we got a little bit of that spam BM as Zaganox takes down the Nexus for Game 1 win for CLG Black over WC Silver.
I mean, just like a very convincing fashion from CLG Black, and it really shows how much progress I think this team has made, because we didn't mention that before, but they lost in the open qualifiers in spring against the University of Toronto. They went to the Montpellier esports show back in February. They lost in a group stage. So this team has been together for quite a long time already, a few months, and at the same time they didn't have the results to make up for it. And here it seems that all of that practice with the main team is starting to pay off.
It has really paid off. So what needs to change for WC Silver to turn around and reverse sweep this? What needs to change?
I mean, right now, what we see, and I think it also comes from the speak and ban, because we see Varus Zyra 3 games from WC Silver, so the 2 games yesterday, this game as well. It worked great yesterday because they were able to get those engages in from the Zyra, and then they're able to team fight properly. Here, they're playing reactively, and we saw that in the bot lane around the 15 minutes mark. There is a 40 CS lead for Zaganox. So do they want to change the pick in the ball lane? Maybe, but specifically, I think they should change. They should go back to the series that we saw yesterday, and maybe go for this kind of Korean team comps that we see in the LCK. You go for the Rumble, Elise, Talon. So you have those mixed damage, you have this double AP threat, you have great team fighting ability, you have great pick potential, mobility from Elise and the Talon, and overall I think it would work better to play through their laner strength, and then snowball the team fights accordingly.
So I am very excited to see what is going on for... I want to see how WC Silver is going to adapt to this, and I want to see how CLG Black is going to change things up and make WC Silver's adaptation useless.
And I mean, and the best part of that game is that we see Fallen Bandit on a tank, and we know he's a very potent damage threat on carry champions. Oh my God, has a deep champion pool as well. So in terms of pick and bans, they're not limited at all. So it's really like a WC Silver is gonna have to bring a trick up their sleeve, because right now I don't see I see it as a 2-0 if it says like this. Like, it was very convincing from CLG Black, and WC Silver didn't seem to have an answer at any given time.
I am inclined to agree. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a short little break, allow our casters to hydrate our throats, and then we are going to get ready for game 2 of a best of 3. We are currently 1 game up for CLG Black against WC Silver. Let's hope that the CLG Black does not repeat what they did in the summer open qualifier last year, where they got beat out first round after getting a bye.
Mm-hmm. That would be pretty awkward indeed. But, they have more chances this time around. All right. That spells water break.
Yeah. I'm just going to mute everything up and toss on some music.